All right, hello friends. Welcome to Salt City Hoops live postcast and beer. Let's crack open for the beer, shall we? Hope you heard that nice crisp bottle opening of a beer there. This is it's Tuesday night. We're having a 5% oatmeal stout from Breckenridge Brewery. Thanks for coming in and joining me. I'm Mark Pereira. Let's have a beer. Ooh, easy, no frills oatmeal stout. Nothing too exciting to write home about, but it's a solid B minus C plus oatmeal stout. By the way, the beer grading on this postcast is very much not like business school or law school. C is average. C is okay, and if you're above average, it's a C plus. A's are reserved for the top of the class. B's are very good. You want to have more of that. C's are okay. So thanks for joining in. We got all our links out, so I'll give it a couple minutes before I start yammering a little bit more. So good blowout win. Let's talk about the folks going on here with the good victory today. So number one, got to start out Lauri Markkanen, absolutely fabulous. 9 of 13 from three today, and all of those shots were in rhythm, look good. He doesn't have the elevation and the height of like a Kevin Durant type of shot, but when you're 7 feet tall, that shot can come easier than most. He has this nice little dribble handoff game now with Walker Kessler, with Walker Kessler obviously being the handoff man. And he's able to get this ball, and in these lineups where he's playing with Vando and Kessler, or Olynyk and Vanderbilt, or I'm sorry, Olynyk in some sort of situation where Markkanen's playing the three, he's got the smaller guy on him that just gets murked by the Walker Kessler handoff, and then Walker Kessler is being guarded by the opposing big man, who usually doesn't have the alacrity to get up there and contest a good Markkanen shot, even if they have the height, right? Like Markkanen, tall guys shooting threes is such a disadvantage, but when Markkanen can also put the ball on the floor a little bit, like not great, but we're starting to see more and more that Markkanen can do a little bit more with the ball in his hands, moving the basketball and getting in the paint. He doesn't have like that dribble drive game where he can beat a man in front of him. If he gets a good advantage, he obviously him get all the way to the rim and dunk all over Rudy Gobert, and we've seen some great rim attacks from Markkanen this year. But you can't expect a combination dribble move and getting around a guy with speed. It's really just like taking what the defense is giving you. And Markkanen has the ability, though, to, if you're going to switch on him, which they did often, Detroit did often, especially in the second half. He ended up with Jaden Ivey on him at certain points today. He has a confident ability to end up in that mid-range area and passing the ball out or scoring a bucket from the mid-range. So he was fabulous today. 38 points, 9 threes, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. Will Hardy postgame said that Lauri Markkanen had a couple blocks, and I'm not sure that was true, but he did have some pretty decent defense. Often in the first half, matched up against Bojan Bogdanovic, because we had Jared Vanderbilt marking Isaiah Stewart, and we had Walker Kessler marking Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren. Make sure I get these right. These Gen Z names, the Jalens and the Jadens, abound. And speaking of Jared Vanderbilt, so Markkanen played pretty solid defense all around. Nothing to write home about, but he didn't get beat too badly. He didn't need to be the biggest rebounder, though, because Jared Vanderbilt was a fabulous defensive rebounder today. Also chipped in 4 offensive rebounds in 32 minutes. He played alongside Walker Kessler today for a lot longer of stretches of time than in the previous game with Kelly Olynyk out. So in the previous game, we saw Kessler and Vanderbilt start together, and we were questioning, like, does this really have enough spacing for Utah? And Vanderbilt in the first half and Kessler in the second half, they were summarily subbed out with like 3 or 4 minutes into the halves. So it was like, okay, maybe we have some token starter situation going on here. Just get my best 5 players on the floor. I thought that worked a lot better against Detroit, obviously in no small part because Isaiah Stewart, Big Beef Stew, who's from my hometown of Rochester, New York, and Jalen Duren are not Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, right? So just a significant teardrop from the Cavs front court. So we're able to get away with playing Kessler and Vanderbilt a little bit more, just from like a skills perspective, and by having better players on the floor, we can work that out. And Vanderbilt was fabulous today, right? So we look at the other end of the floor. Isaiah Stewart ends up with 3 rebounds today in 27 minutes. No offensive rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds only. That's all Jared Vanderbilt's matchup right there. And Isaiah Stewart was playing alongside Jalen Duren a lot, which is, those are both center players, but Stewart's a little bit undersized, and Stewart ostensibly has a 3-point shot. So it's okay to say, like, okay, you're going to be my 4-man, Isaiah Stewart, and you're going to be on the perimeter a little bit more. But that just allowed Jared Vanderbilt to do his thing, because Walker Kessler and Jalen Duren, I thought, played each other to a draw today. I thought the 2 rookies were quite good, and it was really fun watching that matchup. Jalen Duren actually, I think, would give the edge a little bit. He did 15 and 14 today, 7 and 9 from the field. A lot of that was against Kessler, but Kessler also had a pretty nice day on his own right. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks for Kessler. One of those was on Duren. I think the other one was on Isaiah Stewart. But going back to Vanderbilt, because Stewart was playing on the perimeter and not really being able to affect the shot, I thought Vanderbilt affect the rebounds. I thought Vanderbilt did a great job as a defensive rebounder today, which is not necessarily his best skill. And then we're seeing the best Jared Vanderbilt games come from these defensive rebounding performances. Not just because, all right, sure, he puts up a double-double, but Jared Vanderbilt has full license to then initiate the fast break on these rebounds, right? And he is much faster than the other typical rebounders on the team, like Kelly Olynyk or Lauri Markkanen or Walker Kessler, right? All those guys, if they get the rebound, first of all, Walker Kessler is giving the ball up. Kelly Olynyk is going to saunter up the court. Lauri Markkanen is very rarely the initiator of anything on an offense for Utah. Like he's usually the dependent threat that is effective in that role, but he's not dribbling the ball up the court and then setting the play, right? Whereas Kelly Olynyk is very comfortable doing that. Like that's kind of a skill of his, is to bring the ball up and, all right, let me set the first little action before we do the main action. Jared Vanderbilt is, on the other hand, like just pure chaos in a good way, right? Like he's going to get that defensive rebound and get down the court. He is a fast break, right? It's like he and Jordan Clarkson and a little bit of Malik Beasley, if I'm going down the list here. Alexander Walker for sure. Horton Tucker when he's playing for sure. So if we look at the main contributing players, it's really just Jared Vanderbilt, Jordan Clarkson when he has the verve, which isn't always the case on the fast break, who is really driving this fast break intentionality. Malik Beasley is also very happy to get the ball on the break if he's rebounding the ball, which is just not very frequently, getting down the court and maybe shooting a pull-up jumper in transition. The old Puget from Malik Beasley is coming back. So Jared Vanderbilt, his best games come on these defensive rebounding performances because he is pushing the pace, and he ends up with 6 assists today. How do you think he ended up with 6 assists today? A lot of it comes, I'm not sure every last one of those 6 assists was from the fast break, but we definitely saw a few passes from that situation where he's breaking into the paint and then just finding an easy open shooter. A lot of times it was Lauri Markkanen. We also had 3-7 from Jordan Clarkson today. Vanderbilt found Jordan Clarkson today for a 3. These are the best Jared Vanderbilt games, is when he is committed to finding the defensive glass and figuring out his matchup defensively to start these little fast breaks and be an effective contributor there. I was impressed with him today. Jared Vanderbilt went 2 of 4 from 3. I don't care about those until the shot looks normal and consistent. And from literally anywhere else other than the corners, I just don't care about it. His first 3-point shot attempt, which was also the first points of the day for Utah, it was actually a decent-looking step-back 3 in the corner. The shot clock was winding down, so that's why Jared Vanderbilt is taking corner step-back 3s. But because of the step-back motion, his shooting had a lot less of a hitch to it, and it actually caught the front of the iron in a nice, good arcing shot, not too flat, not too high. So it was a nice fluid shooting motion from Vanderbilt because of all the other action he had to do. It was almost like a gather situation, or like a good dip that some shooting coaches like to promote. And it caught the front of the iron, hit the top of the backboard, and then went in. Right? And you call that, the old shooter's roll, getting some luck, but you don't get those kinds of rolls unless your shot has a good soft angle and trajectory and shot attempt. So, but you just can't count on a shot that hits the top of the backboard to go in. So he might as well have been 1 of 4 today. It's everything else he did, right? Jared Vanderbilt in the paint today. His problem in the paint is that he doesn't have the vertical jumping or acrobatic or soaring ability to adjust layups, to finish layups among the trees. I'm curious what his vertical leap is at this point, right? Or what it always was. Because he is just not a solid 1 foot jumper. He can kind of elevate on 2 feet on the fast break if he needs to and get a good two-handed slam in there. But that's jumping off of 2 feet where you're just not going to be able to do that very reliably in the paint. We've seen that with Donovan Mitchell over the past couple of years. Like, Donovan Mitchell is not a 1 foot jumper. He's pretty much always that 2 foot jump, and then he does that little scissor kick in midair. Jared Vanderbilt is also not the best 1 foot jumper, so he ends up in these situations where he can't really soar among the trees and finish a tough layup like some of these very acrobatic and fast guards are. And that is like, and Jared Vanderbilt also doesn't have that like super high speed. So Jared Vanderbilt, though, today, I keep saying his full name, Jared Vanderbilt. You can't say just Vanderbilt or you have to say the whole name Jared Vanderbilt or just Vando, right? And I think Vando is a little too reductive, but that's what everyone calls him, so maybe I should resort to that. Anyways, we get a Vanderbilt today. He's doing pump fakes and he's catching guys off balance. He was going up against, like I said, Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren, inexperienced front court guys. Stewart's got a little bit of a history in the league as a decent player. Not a long history, though, and Vanderbilt was able to get in the lane and cause some trouble. He ended up being able to shoot 3 free throws today. One of those was on an and one. And so you end up with a pretty nice Jared Vanderbilt game. The things what we looked for from Vanderbilt going forward, and all these players going forward, it's a common theme in all these postcasts and everything we always talk about. What skills do these players have that is improvable, replicable, that is useful to the future Jazz teams? And Jared Vanderbilt needs to figure out how he is going to be an effective paint scorer. If he's not going to have the physical tools to soar among the trees and get layups off the glass or draw fouls, he needs to figure out the little pump fake game and baiting game and have that little floater range, hitching like floater thing that he does. See if that can get a little bit more consistent. That's what I'm sketchy on, right? I thought it looked great today. I thought all that sort of interior paint stuff looked great today against a weak interior defense, a learning interior defense for Detroit. I'm high on both Stewart and Duren specifically. I think Stewart's got a long career in this league as a bench big, and Duren, I think, is a future defensive all-defense team candidate guy. I think Jalen Duren was a great pick by Detroit. I'm a little biased. And Jalen Duren had some good offensive rebounds today. 6 offensive rebounds for Jalen Duren today. Had a couple of vicious dunks on Walker Kessler. He blocked. It doesn't give him credit for the block. Maybe it was Isaiah Stewart that did so. Only 1 block for Detroit today. But Walker Kessler in the first quarter attempted a real nasty jam over who I thought was Jalen Duren, and it missed. And I thought it was a Duren block. And either it wasn't credited to block or it was Isaiah Stewart. But I want to go back and look at that because Kessler came back in the second half and he dunked over Jalen Duren. So just a great battle between Kessler and Duren. And if you're doing like a rookie watch, like how are these guys doing? If you're trying to do a watch of like Walker Kessler making an all rookie team, maybe all rookie second team or something like that. I think this was a great game where you can look at, I don't know, what round does this one go to? Because Walker Kessler is probably around 11th or 12th on like all rookie teams right now. I think some smarter voters will put Walker Kessler in those top 10 guys right now. But I don't think he has the other scoring numbers that you would say. So now if he keeps playing like this, because over the past month his split stats are a lot better than his overall season stats. But again, he's inching closer to averaging 2 blocks a game, which is pretty nice. Let's take a look at Walker Kessler's split stats. But I'm curious about this. So he is now he isn't quite averaging 2 blocks yet. But if we look at his splits, let's see here. In the past 9 games in December, he's averaging 22 minutes, 81% from the field on 4 or 5 shooting, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 2.5 blocks. That's in 22 minutes, guys. That's pretty sweet. Now, you can't just extrapolate that over 36 minutes, right? He's not going to average 20 and 20, right? Like, he's definitely an opportunistic player in the minutes he's getting. But this is... it's becoming harder and harder to keep him off the court. And with the limitations Walker Kessler have, I can't wait to see way more of this Markkanen, Olynyk, Kessler lineup that I think could finally be a defensive rebounding, like, all right, we can solve the problems there. So, Walker Kessler, decent game today. All right, a couple other things we'll talk about here. Live postcast. Thank you guys for joining me. Malik Beasley had a rough shooting night the other night. Back to 3-9 shooting from 3, bombing it away. His 2-point game, though, was really outstanding. Malik Beasley was run off the 3-point line a number of times, and he was shooting contested layups, mid-range shots, and he looked comfortable doing so. I cringed at a couple of the shot attempts, but I thought he really did have a nice little game going there for Malik Beasley, scoring from all different levels, which was an interesting thing for him. Rudy Gay was a team-high plus 30 in 22 minutes. Rudy Gay had a couple good defensive moments. He had a couple boners on shooting. He was only 2 of 7 from the field. Missed a couple wide open shots in the mid-range, but he hit a 3, and he got fouled on another 3 and made all 3 of his free throws there. And his defense against some inexperienced players was actually pretty solid. A couple nasty turnovers, but he was part of the third quarter lineup with Mike Conley leading. Mike Conley played almost the entire third quarter, by the way. And Mike Conley's playing with Rudy Gay in the third quarter, and that team just kept pushing the lead up and up and up. And I'm not sure Rudy Gay was the catalyst for a lot of it. It's a lot of Malik Beasley. It was a lot of Jared Vanderbilt playing well. Markkanen was obviously bombing away for a lot of that. But Rudy Gay did not come. He was still not great. He wasn't closing out on 3-point shooters, and it was a little bit of a struggle, but you got to give credit. He played some solid defense and some solid 4 defensive rebounds today, which you need from a guy in Rudy Gay's position in 22 minutes, plus 30 today. Simone Fontecchio was on the court for the entirety of Detroit's second quarter 14-0 run, and so Fontecchio ends up a minus 16 today. Other than Fontecchio missing a 3, Fontecchio really wasn't involved in the defensive actions very much. He did commit 1 foul that was just a loose ball foul that didn't mean anything. Or it wasn't a loose ball foul. It was under the rim, but it wasn't a shot attempt. Fontecchio was just trying to steal a pass and ended up just following his man under the rim without a shot attempt. But Fontecchio is a team low minus 16 today because Detroit went on a massive run in the second quarter that he was on the floor for like all of it. Felt bad for the guy because this is a very pro Fontecchio space. Mike Conley, it's not going to show up on the stats either. He was very good today. 7 points, 7 assists, 3 of 7 from the field. Again, 1 of 5 from 3. Where's the 3-point shot? But he had countless hockey assists in a huge third quarter run for Utah, and I thought he was playing faster and with more vigor and pace and intensity in the second half to say we are closing out this Detroit game. We're stop playing around with our food, and he was driving the ball in ways that created very fast passing opportunities for other guys to then move the ball, and then all of a sudden the ball finds Lauri Markkanen wide open, right? So Mike Conley was a huge team captain catalyst in that third quarter. He's not Mike Conley anymore. I think we can finally put that to bed, but it was nice to see him orchestrating a positive third quarter run. And finally, Jordan Clarkson. I think he's the last guy I want to talk about today because I think it's been very hush-hush how poorly he's passed the ball and how bad his decision-making has been over the last little while. Not horrible. He had a couple good games with New Orleans, right? But a lot of that, it was scoring based. And I think finally he got back to doing what we've lauded him of this year, is playing a little bit more of a distributor playmaking role when he feels like he is not going to be able to make the buckets today. I thought he had a few uncomfortable contested long twos that he's been shooting a lot more of the past couple days, or really tough contested layups when there are good passing options available to him. But that wasn't the entire story today like it was against Milwaukee and Cleveland. And part of that is because Milwaukee and Cleveland are just fabulous defenses that are forcing guys like Clarkson to do the things that are most difficult, because they know guys like Clarkson will do the difficult thing instead of work harder or figure out against a good defense. It's very hard against a good defense for Clarkson to find those types of opportunities. He's very good at shooting the difficult things, and for him, you can kind of resort into doing those sorts of easy things. Today, Clarkson had 6 assists, 2 turnovers in 30 minutes, 3 of 7 from 3. Very nice performance from him. I just liked him being a little bit more of an in-control distributor type, beating his man off the dribble. Defense was a little rough, especially against Jaden Ivey, who had his best game as a professional basketball player. 30 points for Ivey, 10 of 14 from the field, 8 of 11 from the free throw line. Getting to the free throw line 11 times that was an issue caused by everybody. Bad perimeter defense by Conley, Clarkson, Beasley, everyone we threw at him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker keeps getting lauded on the broadcast as playing great defense. I think his defense has been wildly overrated. He had 3 fouls in 19 minutes. I think all of them were on Ivey. And he was providing no resistance and forcing the big men who were on the court to have to come over and cover for him and commit their own fouls and have tough decisions there. So not impressed with Nickeil Alexander-Walker's defense today. Jaden Ivey is also a young, fast, super athletic guy. 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 turnovers for Ivey. He's got some real skills. We'll see what happens there. And luckily, Utah wasn't completely shit on by the likes of Marvin Bagley and Kevin Knox like they were in the loss in the last game. I think as a Utah fan, what really dismays you the most about that Detroit loss at home was you kind of had a normal game as far as Utah expected, and then Kevin Knox and Marvin Bagley come out of nowhere to completely kick your shit in, and that's not what you want. That's not who you want to get beat by. If Jaden Ivey goes off for 30 points, right, you're like, all right, yeah, young guy, rookie, he's doing what he can. Bojan Bogdanovic was kind of very disappointing as a Pistons fan today. 15 points, 2 of 6 from 3. It looked really slow out there. Looked not ready to just completely try to take over a game against what I thought is he had pretty good defensive matchups. He did his bogey thing of complaining about fouls that were kind of touch and go. You got to just play the game, dude. So he was minus 21 in 31 minutes for Detroit. I'm kind of just running down the roster. I said I would finish with Clarkson. I lied. I want to mention that Udoka Azubuike got very important minutes in the first half. Walker Kessler gets 3 fouls in the first half. Kessler finishes with 3 fouls in 27 minutes, but he had 3 in the first half. And with Dern and Stewart coming back in for Detroit, and we had just watched Detroit go on a 14-0 run. Utah quelled that a little bit, and then Kessler picks up his 3rd foul. You just can't let Detroit continue to take on that momentum and take the lead into the halftime. Utah is up 7 points after 1, And at this point, Detroit, and they took a double-digit lead in the second quarter. Detroit clawed all the way back to take a little lead, and Utah gets the lead back. Kessler gets his third foul, and you're thinking, okay, well, like, what are they going to do? Is this going to be a Vanderbilt Rudy Gay front court, and like that's going to be terrible? In comes Udoka Azubuike, and he plays for 4 minutes at the end of the second quarter, and he didn't do anything that was, oh, we haven't seen that from him, or he didn't do anything that was okay, I can see him improving a lot. He did nothing extraordinary, except he didn't fuck up. He was a huge body who did... I almost wrote as a second headline today, everyone did their job. And what I expect out of Doak, if he's going to get in the game, is set legal, massive screens, and when you get the ball anywhere, like, not at the rim, just make a pass. Don't get it and freak out. Just say, like, there's going to be a guy in the corner, right? And so he set massive screens, gave Jordan Clarkson a wide open, it was a very Rudy Gobert screen, of just huge, massive body, setting and he's not a mountain, right? He's got some agility to him. So he sets the screen very quickly, very legally, slams the defender. Jordan Clarkson gets a wide open three. Another time, off a double team, they completely leave Udoka Azubuike wide open at the free throw line, and he's got his back to the basket, and so the ball handler finds Doak at the free throw line, back to the basket. Doak knows, like, I don't got two dribble moves to do it. I don't know who's guarding behind me. I know it's going to be a guard level player or a wing who is guarding the corner, because Doak's man was the one doing the double team on the ball handler. He gets the ball at the free throw line, immediately finds a guy in the corner for a three. I don't remember if the three went in or not, but it was a great pass. I said, all right, that works. Doak was a +4 in those minutes, which is just to not be a negative, I thought was important for him and for his confidence. So shout out to him for having a decent time out there. That's all I got, guys. This is Salt City Hoops Postcast. Beer. Just want to recap a little game today. Utah stays over 500. Love for that to continue the whole season. If you want to yell at me about Donovan Mitchell, you can do so on Twitter. I've very much given my thoughts about that. Utah keeps finding themselves in these schedule situations where they have one game at home followed by another road trip. So on Thursday, 7 p.m., at home against Washington, and then they're off for Christmas. But they will unfortunately not be spending Christmas at home with their families. They'll be on a road trip starting in San Antonio, Golden State, then Sacramento, before they come back home for New Year's Eve. So, Thursday night, Washington at home. Washington is playing with a very skeleton crew right now. They're 12 and 20. They win against Phoenix today. They had previously lost 10 in a row. So Wizards lose 10 in a row, and they beat Phoenix on the road today. What happened here? Was Phoenix was Phoenix resting some guys? I don't see anyone, or Booker didn't play today, but Chris Paul played today. So Phoenix starts Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, normal guys. Damian Lee, who's been having a fabulous year from three for them. Damian Lee only plays 18 minutes. I wonder if he got hurt. And Torrey Craig. Bradley Beal came back. Well, there we go. that will that will do it for them, right? Let's see here. He hadn't been playing though. No, Bradley Beal had been playing. I feel like the Wizards have been missing some guys. This makes great live radio. No, he had been missing some games. I don't know why I thought I'm misinterpreting his stat lines here. Yeah, he did miss a few games in this losing streak. Okay, so they get Bradley Beal back. He did play in the close loss at the Lakers, 119-117, and then he played at Phoenix, 27-6-6 for Beal. and a solid game all around. Kyle Kuzma, 29 points. So it'd be great to have Kyle Kuzma back in Salt Lake City, former Utah graduate. Not graduate, just a player for Utah. He'll come back and graduate someday. Denny Avdia has been great recently, by the way. So if you're tuning in on Thursday and wondering what's going to happen with the Wizards, Denny Avdia has been playing great. Monte Morris, is their new starting point guard after being the backup in Denver. Will Barton is their backup shooting guard who's been playing absolutely miserable. And you will not see Johnny Davis on the court, their lottery pick, who is just a miserable, miserable basketball player. So, Wizards on Thursday. I'll be seeing you then. We'll do this again. This time, it'll be immediately after the game live instead of this 5 o'clock start time nonsense. So, y'all have a great night. I will talk to you on Thursday night. Go Jazz.